All right, so we've got this collection of sources about being in your 30s.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, this is good.
I'm really excited about this one, actually.
And me too.
We've got this Arabic book called The Joy of Being in Your 30s.
Oh.
And then a bunch of other articles and things.
Hmm.
And it seems like everybody has something to say about this decade of life.
Totally. Yeah, it's a big one, right? It's like a turning point that everybody seems to focus on.
It's like such a big deal. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I hear so many people freaking out
Oh, yeah.
about turning 30.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like their life is over.
it's like, yeah, my life is over now.
Right.
Just beginning.
It's funny how it's seen as this like ending point instead of a beginning,
Totally.
which is so weird.
Yeah. And this book, The Joy of Being in Your 30s, really gets into that.
Yeah.
It talks about all this pressure that people put on themselves when they hit 30
Yeah.
and how a lot of it is really just in our heads.
I think that's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like we build up all these expectations
Yeah.
in our minds.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh no, I'm 30 and I haven't achieved all these things.
Yeah.
But whose expectations are those really?
Exactly.
It's like we need to define success for ourselves.
Yeah. And that's actually something that this book talks about a lot.
Okay. Interesting.
This whole idea of like taking control of your own happiness
Yeah.
and not relying on other people or society to define it for you.
Because it's different for everybody, right?
Right.
What brings you joy might be totally different from what brings someone else joy. And that's okay.
And it's about figuring out what truly makes you happy and then
Yeah.
going after it.
Right. And like actively pursuing it too.
Yeah.
It's not just going to like fall into your lap.
Exactly.
You got to put in the work.
It's interesting too because the book also talks about the importance of like managing your finances.
Yeah. That's a big one in your 30s.
Yeah, like in your 30s, it's not just about like paying your bills.
Right.
It's about creating a stable foundation for your future.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people in their 20s are just like, oh, whatever, I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
But then 30 hits and it's like, okay, I actually need to get my act together.
Yeah, it's like real life now.
Right.
But it's not all serious stuff like finances and stuff.
Right.
This book also emphasizes the importance of having a positive mindset. Oh, I like that.
Which I think is really important.
Me too, because I feel like it's easy to get caught up in the negativity,
Totally.
especially with all the pressures and expectations we were talking about.
Yeah. And it's like, you're going to face challenges in your 30s.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how you approach those challenges that really matters.
Totally.
And this book encourages readers to focus on the possibility
Yeah.
that this decade holds.
Instead of dwelling on the negative.
Exactly.
I love that.
And it even talks about relationships,
Oh, interesting. Okay, how so?
like setting boundaries in your relationships
Mm-hmm.
and not being afraid to let go of relationships that aren't serving you,
That's huge.
which I think is really important because as we get older,
Mm-hmm.
our priorities change.
And the people who we surround ourselves with should reflect that.
Totally. And, it's interesting because this focus on self-discovery and personal growth
Yeah.
that we're seeing in this Arabic book,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of different from some of the anxieties that pop up in the Ingle sources we have.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like this whole concept of a quarter-life crisis.
Right.
That seems to be more of a Western thing.
Yeah, I feel like I hear that term a lot.
Me too.
Like this feeling of being lost or uncertain in your late 20s and early 30s.
Exactly. And it's interesting how that contrasts with the more positive outlook of this Arabic book.
Yeah, it's like two different perspectives on the same stage of life.
Totally. And I think it highlights how our cultural backgrounds can really shape our experiences.
For sure.
But regardless of where you're from, it's clear that your 30s are a time of significant change and growth.
Absolutely. It's almost like it's not really a crisis.
Yeah.
It's more like a transformation.
Right. Exactly.
Like you're supposed to be changing and growing during that time.
And there's actually research to back that up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was this study, I think it was published in the journal Psychological Bulletin, and they found that certain personality traits tend to change in your 30s.
Interesting.
Like conscientiousness and agreeableness tend to increase,
Okay.
while neuroticism often decreases.
So you're basically becoming a better person.
Yeah, basically.
That's good to know.
Right, like your brain is literally wired for growth during this decade.
It's not just a myth.
No, it's science.
I like it.
So those feelings of uncertainty are totally normal.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's just your brain doing its thing.
It's like a good sign, even though it might not feel like it at the time.
Exactly. It's like growing pains, but for your personality.
I love it.
And speaking of growth and change,
Yeah.
our English sources also talk a lot about relationships in your 30s.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, like how dating is different when you're 30-something.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not just about like going out and having fun anymore.
Right, like you're looking for something more serious.
Exactly. You want something real, something meaningful.
And I feel like by that point, a lot of people have experienced heartbreak or divorce.
Yeah, you've got some baggage.
Right, exactly.
But that doesn't mean you can't find love again.
Right.
There were actually a couple of really inspiring stories in these articles. You know, like one woman was talking about how she found love again in her late 30s.
Okay.
After going through a really tough divorce.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she had overcome a lot of fear and uncertainty.
Yeah, I bet.
But she put herself out there.
Good for her.
And she ended up finding an amazing partner.
That gives me hope.
Right. It's like proof that it's never too late.
Totally.
And her story made me think about how in our 30s, we're often looking for those deeper connections. We want partners who understand us, who support our growth.
Totally. Like you were saying earlier, it's about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
And that applies to relationships too.
100%.
Okay, so we've talked about the challenges, but what about the successes?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are there people out there who are actually killing it in their 30s?
Absolutely tons of them.
Okay, good.
Like one guy I read about completely changed careers in his early 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, he had been working in finance.
Oh.
But he was miserable.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So he decided to follow his passion.
What was it?
He went to culinary school.
No way.
Yeah, and then he opened his own restaurant when he was 35.
Get out of here.
I know, right? Talk about a career change.
That's amazing.
It's so inspiring.
It's like he just totally reinvented himself.
Exactly. And then there was this woman who finally pursued her dream of writing in her mid-30s.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she started a blog, and it gained a huge following.
Wow.
And then she ended up getting a book deal.
Shut up.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's incredible.
It just goes to show you that it's never too late to go after what you want.
Yeah, for real. Like, those stories are so motivating.
They're like little reminders that anything is possible.
Right.
And, you know, what's interesting is that both of those stories really connect back to what the Arabic book was saying.
How so?
About discovering your passions and aligning your work with what you truly enjoy.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's like your 30s can be this time to really hone in on your purpose.
Yeah, instead of just like going through the motions.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices that lead to a more fulfilling life.
Which is kind of what this whole deep dive is about, right?
Like figuring out how to make our 30s the best decade yet.
Exactly. And it seems like a big part of that is letting go of all those expectations and pressures and just like embracing who we are.
Totally. Like owning our individuality and our experiences.
Because those experiences are what make us unique.
Exactly. And they give us valuable lessons that we can use to navigate this next chapter of life.
Okay, so out of all these different perspectives on being 30, what resonated with you the most?
Honestly, I think it's this whole idea that your 30s don't have to be this like big, scary crisis.
Right.
It's more like this incredible opportunity for growth and self-discovery.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, maybe even joy.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective and embracing all the good that this decade has to offer.
It's like we're rewriting the script on what it means to be 30.
Totally like throwing out the old rule book.
Yeah, because it's not all downhill after 30.
No, not at all. In fact, it's like this whole new chapter full of possibilities.
Right. And one thing that really stood out to me from all these sources was this idea of taking ownership of your life.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like you're in the driver's seat. Now you get to decide where you go and what you do.
Exactly. And you have the power to make changes.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with where you're at.
Totally. Like you can switch careers, you can end a relationship, you can finally pursue that passion you've been putting off.
Exactly. Your 30s are like this permission slip to be your most authentic self.
And sometimes that takes a little risk taking, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like remember that guy we talked about who opened his own restaurant?
Oh, yeah, he's like a total inspiration.
I know, right? Talk about going for it.
And it worked out for him.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you that it's never too late to make a change.
Totally. Like you're not stuck.
Not at all. And that goes for relationships too.
Yeah, I
So
relate.
as we evolve, our needs and our priorities change.
Right. And our definition of love might change too.
Yeah, totally.
And that's okay.
It's about being honest with ourselves about what we really want.
Exactly. And communicating that to our partners.
Because ultimately, it's about building a life that feels aligned.
Yes. And surrounding yourself with people who support your growth.
100%.
People who lift you up instead of dragging you down.